Well, good morning and welcome to the Friday Fundamental on Kitchen Design. Uh, Over the course of the next hour, we're going to be working to design a kitchen, as you can see on the screen at this stage, one that is a custom design, taking an actual floor plan and working to upgrade it or bring it forward as far as a design that represented more of what clients are looking for today. The original design of this kitchen had it very closed off from the rest of the house, and it lacked certain counter space options as well as a lack of a pantry and so on. And so, in essence, the original design was basically scanned into soft plan from the original blueprints, and then using soft plan's drawing techniques, went in and laid out a brand new kitchen and so on. And so, this class we're going to basically take you through some of the steps that took place in order to make this happen. We will, over the course of the next hour, discuss cabinet layouts, both the use of generic cabinets as well as manufacturer cabinets. We'll talk about customizing certain cabinets and how you can go in and quickly on the fly change what the look of a cabinet is going to be. We'll deal with certain settings such as hardware designs, different face plates, and so on. And we'll also be going in and taking a look at the use of SoftPlan's wide array of symbol libraries for both the appliances that you see, but also some of the electrical and so on. We'll dive into the use of interior mode, which will allow us to go in and use a wide array of textures and so on to get hardwoods and paint colors and such on the actual plan. Now, to begin with, as I drag this off the screen, this is basically, in essence, what we're going to start with. And in order to gain a feel for this, if I were to take you back into the main floor plan, you can see over to the right that there is a blueprint, literally a scan of the original layout of the house. And if we were to zoom this up, you would see this was the kitchen area at this stage with a breakfast area. There was a wall that actually blocks it off from the family room. And then over here we have a very enclosed sunroom. And so, in essence, as part of the design, once this was scanned in, and really all you need is a PDF or JPEG, and then using the edit and pasting either from the Windows clipboard or the import feature, you can bring this in, scale it, and then at that stage draw the plan using SoftPlan's drawing tools. But once this wall was removed, it opened up a much larger area to be able to do the layout. And that's where we're going to begin. As I zoom this area up here, you'll see that dimensionally speaking, we've got a pretty big area to work with. And we're going to begin by laying a set of cabinets out between what's a newly proposed pantry area and a door to the exterior. And this wall here will include a range that will pull from the Wolf symbol library, as well as a host of custom cabinetry, etc. And then down the left-hand side, we will have a refrigerator and built-in oven. And over on the right-hand side, we'll just have a long run of counter, something where items or trays and food and so on, and a lot of storage can be done built around the windows and so on. So to get ourselves started, as I zoom this up, I can go in through Draw, select the cabinet library, and here from the pull-down menu, you'll see that we've got a host of different symbol items that are available. We can pull from the manufacturers, and when you click on this, you will see that we've got a pretty good list of manufacturers that are already in there, and as you open up any of the to look at the sub-libraries beneath the actual manufacturer's name, you can see that they're broken out according to the different types of cabinets, whether it's a base cabinet, a microwave, an oven, and so on. And each of these are based upon the actual manufacturer's product code and how they've been defined there. So that just gives you a head start if you pick one of those to be able to insert it and know that you're drawing it to the manufacturer's specifications. Now, carrying on from there, we're going to go to, in this case, more of the generic listing of cabinets. And so if I were to click on the base library at this stage, you will see that on the configure library menu that comes up, I have my type, which I selected base to begin with. And then I've also got wall, vanity, desk, and tall. And so those are all different, types of cabinets that I can draw. Beneath that, I can then select the shape of the cabinet. So in this case, a standard versus a diagonal corner or a blind corner, etc. So you can, depending on what shape you pick, that will form how it's going to look in the plan, and of course also how the three-dimensional model will look at it, as well as the bill of materials for listing. Once you've selected the type and shape, you can then go to what the face layout is going to look like. So in this case here, as I click on this, you'll see that I've got my listing of various standards that are there. So whether we're looking at a two-door with a single flat drawer panel, okay, or we could select just simply the two-door with no drawer panel. And as I work my way down, I can select, from the different options that are available, okay, and we've basically already assembled for you inside the library many of the common face plates or panels that you would want to use within the software. Now, so in this case here, if I return to the default that I've got right here of two doors and a single drawer, I can then select also from the listing of styles. You'll see each of the face plates that are available as far as styles are concerned. Okay, and then finally what the width is going to be, the default height on cabinets at 34.5 inches, and then if there is an offset, meaning a vertical placement, which we'll get into with the upper cabinets. Once I've set that on there, I can position my cursor on the wall, move my cursor into the room, and click. Okay, it pulls or draws the cabinet on there for me. Okay, and on a quick edit, you can see all of that same information is pulled up for me there. If you view this inside 3D, and I'll simply zoom this cabinet up at this stage, okay. A simple right-click edit of this cabinet here, when I edit this, will show that I can go in and modify things like the cabinet finish, as well as what the frame is going to be relative to the doors and drawers panels. Okay, now this is something that you'll get into modifying once you've got more cabinets in there, but you can see that just by clicking the selection arrow key on a finish, you can change the different styles that are available. So depending on what I'm doing, as I scroll through with the arrow key, I've got my different finishes, calling out all the way down to the painted option. Okay, and in addition to that, I can go in and I can change what the doors and drawers are going to be looking like relative to the face. So in this case here, I'm just going to leave this on, frameless, which maximizes the amount of, opening when I open the doors and the drawers as far as the cabinet is concerned. I can also go into the faceplate on this. Here's where you get your generic face or your set faceplate that you've got already, and you could even go in at this stage now and I could customize that. So when I click the checkbox here and it opens this dialog up for me, you'll see that I'll be able to go in and modify. Here I've got my doors and what they're doing, whether it's a standard door versus glass grill, etc. And that of course will come into play as we move towards the upper cabinets. And on the drawer front right now it is flat. So I could simply set that to recess, which is going to give me a completely different, view or detail on that cabinet front. And so when I click OK, you can see, and zoom this down, you can see what I've got. Additionally, on this base cabinet, okay, I'll be able to go in, and as far as the cabinet run's concerned, and I could add things like a left-end panel. And this will allow me to, at this stage, just give it more of that custom finish look on the cabinet itself. So those are just a few of the options that you can change. Under the accessories is where we can come in and we can specify the type of hardware that we're going to have on there. So in this case here, I could assign something like a pull pipe to this, and I could even go in and modify this to be different, if you will, for the drawers versus the doors themselves. And so as I zoom this around, you can see what this looks like now. I'll click OK on this because at this stage it's one cabinet and we really want to take some time to go in and add a few other cabinets to the actual design itself. And so I'm just pulling myself back at this page to be able to look at this. I'm going to come in through Draw and I'll select Cabinet from here. I'll select the base option, which will open up the same configure cabinet dialog that we had. And in this case now, I'm just going to go into the face layout and scroll down looking for perhaps something that's got a series of drawers on it. And so as I get to this option right here and click OK, and I'm going to change the width of this to say maybe 21 inches. So once again, the width, and then I'll pick the face that I want to use. And once I have that, I'll slide it up to the other cabinet that's there and have it placed in. Okay, it's accidentally dropped a second one in there. So at this stage, it takes on the drawer handle options as well. It adheres to the same finish, so it's painted. Okay, and the countertops are merged together so we can see the two of them that are there. And as I'm looking at this from the main floor plan and I zoom this up, there is my cabinets at this stage. Now I can move this around in this case here because I've just started begin sketching those in, so I'm going to just move that down ever so slightly. And if I need to see the cabinets individually to one another, I can always come in through miscellaneous and explode and just click on the two so I can see them on an individual basis. A cleanup would actually snap them back together. Now, as I click on the draw option, I'm going to add a symbol in here, which will put in a 60-inch range, if you will, for this. So selecting draw followed by symbol, I'm just going to do a search for wolf. And so as we scroll down, these are your manufacturers, and these are SoftPlan Plus symbols. So those of you who are on the subscription plan, these are some of the symbols that automatically come with the program, but these are also the libraries that are constantly updated or added to depending on as symbols become available. So in my case here, I'm going to select this 60-inch dual range, range that we've got right here. And so once I've selected that, and you can see there's a whole host of them. Okay, this is fairly detailed. There's a lot that goes into this symbol here. And so once I've selected this, I'm going to position my cursor where I want to place it and click to draw it in. Okay, and at this stage now, I'm just going to simply move this into place next to the cabinets that are there. So with those two in place, I can now come in using the draw select, and I'm going to pick this drawer symbol and I'm going to place it next to the wolf symbol on this side, and using the draw select, I'm going to come in and do the same thing with the 24-inch cabinet and drop it in place as well. And so lastly, I can just, as I say, have these two, symbols, lined up one with the other. And so now we can see exactly what we've got for these. Okay, of course, this could be, centered and moved about and so on. Cabinets themselves could be adjusted as far as size is concerned. But for what we're doing today, I think this will, cover off nicely what we need it to do. And so I will save that at this point. Something else that you can do for drawing is generate elevation views of your cabinets and so on as you're drawing them. Under the model option, you can come in through interior elevation, and in this case I'm going to position my cursor here and drag it towards the actual range itself. And so as I do that, I get an elevation number 2, and if I double click on that to take a look at this, it's going to go in and it's going to generate me a view of the range that I just drew, as well as the actual cabinets. Now, as you can see, it's basically going to be the entire width of the room. Right now I'm in shaded mode, okay, so I can change and modify that depending on what it is that I'm attempting to do, whether it's just visible line, which is generates a little bit faster and so on for right now, and then maybe later when I'm doing construction drawings I want to drop them in using the texture mode and so on. But the benefit of this mode right here is I can actually draw here as well. So here I could come in using draw and selecting cabinet, and this time I'm going to select wall. Now you'll recall that the first cabinet over here was a 24-inch cabinet, so I'm matching that at this stage, and I'm just aligning this over top right now, and I'm going to draw it in place. When it drops that cabinet in there, you'll see that at this stage now it drops in a two-dimensional cabinet, okay, from this perspective. And if I were to right-click and edit on this cabinet, currently, as far as the cabinet is concerned, is it went in with a 30-inch height, okay? Its dimension or offset is 54 inches, and so on. Now, this cabinet could be modified. I could change the height here to, say, 36 inches, and I would keep that same offset at 54. But I could also go in and even further define this and maybe just add a 12-inch, small cabinet on top for extra storage. So if that's the case, what I could do is come into the face option here, okay, where it says standard two-door, and I'm going to check this box, which pulls up what this cabinet looks like at this stage. I'm going to add a part, if you will, to it with a double door and just click OK. So now what we have is we have two parts to this, both showing standard doors, and because both are set to scale, they're equal distance. So the bottom one, I'm going to come in and fix it at 36 inches. So it currently is taking up the entire height, if you will, on this cabinet. However, if after I click OK, I now select the wall cabinet, and let's say that I change this to 48 inches, okay, and I'll change that offset to 54 one more time, but basically the 36 is kept on the fixed portion of the cabinet, and then a 12-inch cabinet is added on top. And as I click OK on this and I take a look at it in 3D, you can see what the cabinet now looks like. I could once again re-edit this cabinet. I'm just kind of going back and forth and showing you a number of the changes that you could do. But if I re-edit this one more time and I change this to, let's say, a glass grill, okay, you'll now see I get the glass grill on there as far as that's concerned. With the glass grill put on there now, I can actually add that same cabinet down here, and we'll continue to add other cabinets as we go. Inside the floor plan, I'm just going to come in through Draw and Cabinet, and I'm going to go to the wall cabinet again, okay? And this time I'm just going to, find the 21-inch cabinet, okay, single door at this stage, and I'll change the height to 36 inches so that it matches the lower half of the other one, and then position my cursor where I wish to click and drop it in. Okay, at this stage I'll do the same thing over here. I'm just going to click to add one in, and then using the draw select, I'll pick the cabinet I've already defined and place it in place. And so now I'm just moving these. I'll turn this attach feature off and just move it into place so that we've got the cabinet set. And as I take a look at this, again in the interior view, you see what we have. So I'm going to edit this cabinet over here, and I'm just going to bring it up to speed with the other two, which is to say I'll go to the face option. Okay, I'm going to, go in and customize this face here, and I'll leave this as solid, but I'm going to add a part and just add a double door over the top of this. Okay, and if so once I've done that, I can come in and fix the lower half and make it 36 inches, and I'll click OK. And as I come back into the wall cabinet, I'm going to change this to 48 and the offset to 54. And we now have a single door with a double door on top like I had before. And with this cabinet done, I can come in through the duplicate item, select this cabinet, and then apply the same change over here. So that gets basically my cabinets done. In this area right here, of course, we'll edit the hardware and so on this in just a minute. But the next thing that I want to do is I just want to come in and I'd like to edit and add a range hood over the top here. And so if I were to come in through the main floor plan, which is where it may be easiest to do this from, and I go back into Draw and Symbol, and I could redo my search on Wolf and just come down to see what they've got as far as range hoods is concerned and so on. So we'll just do a quick search and scroll this list. And we've got some 36. Of course, we've got a very large range hood that's going to be down here. So I may need to go to a different manufacturer altogether or different library altogether. And so in this case here, let me do a quick search for the Thermador. And of course, I'm at an advantage because I know what I want to do with the design. And so I'm actually going to do a search for hood at this stage, which may be easier for me to find the manufacturer that I want to use. And so I'll just begin to scroll down and look for, what it is that we're going to put over top of this. And you see Gen-Air, and then we get into the Thermador right here. So as I scroll this down and take a look at what we have, perhaps this one right here, I'll click. It's looking for something that's fairly large in size, and as far as the dimensions are concerned. And so once I've got, and I'm looking for something we're going to basically place a cabinet over top. And so I'll drop this one in for now. And I'm actually going to move it so that we can see it relative to what we're doing. And then I will edit this cabinet, or this symbol itself, and you see the dimensions come up. And so I'm going to turn on the dimensions for right now, and I'm going to change the width on this to, let's say, 5 feet. And that's going to fill in that gap for me for where I want this to be. And so now, as I move this, centering it up inside the area, and we'll just zoom this up. The next thing I'm going to want to do is just change that elevation on it. And so if I edit this, I can come in here to the offset, and let's push that up to maybe say 6 feet. Okay, you can see what we've got for for this this need for cabinetry above this now. And so once I have done this, I could come in through the wall option, and I'm going to select cabinet, and I'm going to select the wall cabinet. And I know I've got 5 feet or so that I need between the two cabinets that we're going to fill. And so I'll key this in, and I'm going to key in a depth of 24 inches because we want it to come all the way out, and even with these cabinets here. And then we will give it a height. Well, we can figure the height out in just a minute. So I'm going to click and add one of these in to start. So we'll click to start, and we'll say no to that, and then we'll click to add another one in there. And so as I take a look at this inside 3D, here are my cabinets. Now at this stage, I'm going to edit these cabinets, and I'm going to do a couple of things. On the wall cabinet, I'm going to give it an offset of 60 inches, which is just going to begin to push it up. And in fact, what we're probably looking at here is to be level. And I'll repeat edit that one right there, and that gets everything level across the top. I'm also going to edit this and turn off the hardware. We're really just boxing this in to give that cabinet a feel, and so here we'll turn the add handles off and do the same thing here. And so the last thing that I'm going to do is I just actually need to pull that vent hood down just ever so slightly now. And so we'll edit this, and currently it's at dimension. So taking into account the height for the offset, we'll offset that at 5 foot 4 inches. And so as we take a look at this, we now have our vent hood and we have our cabinetry over top. Now all of this can be painted, right? And so I can go in and I can actually have that assign the same colors or paint options that are here. And so what I can do is I can come in through the edit item. And in this case right here, I'm just going to change this to be painted in the same fashion as the others, and then just simply repeat edit those changes across the other cabinets on this wall. And so that takes care of that for us, at this stage. And again, I'm just kind of designing on the fly a little bit, so I'm going to push this up into the cabinets just a little bit right there. And I could even paint this or have this colored white so that it blends, well with the cabinets as well. Additionally to this now, what we can do is we can add things like crown molding and so on. So in this case here, I'm going to edit this cabinet, and I'm going to turn on the left panel, which is what we talked about for keying that in. Under accessories, I'm going to add a crown mold, which allows me, when I click this checkbox, to pull this profile out, which is to scale. And so as I click on that, you're going to see it added there. And so I'll click OK, and then I'm just going to repeat edit that same change all the way across for each of these cabinets that we have. And as these cabinets are exploded, that's why I'm based in different depths and so on. That's why I'm having to pick each one on the fly. And so as I zoom this up, Okay, I could also come in now and modify and add, end panels here. And so using the edit item, I can select this cabinet right here, okay, and on the and add a right panel as far as it's concerned, and then do the same thing down here, just edit item and add a right panel to finish that off. And so that gets us to date, pretty good look at what our cabinets are going to look like. Now we can add things like shelving, and those will be little details that we'll get to, all in due time with the cabinets. But that, for right now, gets us to where we want to be. Moving over here to the left-hand side, the next thing that we want to focus on is actually, building in cabinetry, refrigerator, double oven, and so on. And so I'm going to be borrowing a little bit about what I've also done over here already in order to help, expedite the process. And so I'm going to come in using the draw select, and I'm going to pick this base cabinet and click and start to insert it in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the upper cabinet and click to insert it in there. Now as we get there, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to want to build in kind of a built-in where the refrigerator is, etc. So to start, I'm actually going to come in and add a filler cabinet here, which will be 1.5 inches or 2 inches in width. Then we'll put a 36-inch refrigerator in there, and then another filler panel on the other side. So we're boxing it in or framing it all in with a upper cabinet on top of it. And so I'm going to come in through cabinet, and I'm going to select the tall option. And when I do this, it pulls up this cabinet right here. Now I'm not interested in having doors on this, so I'll select the fill option. And when I do that, it allows me to now go in and key in what that width is going to be on that. And so I can also key in a depth of, say, 24 inches, and then finally a height, and I'm using that 102-inch height to start. And so I'll just click to start and click to finish. And what you'll see when I click OK on this for just a second is it snaps into place right there. Okay, so now this is going to allow me to place a refrigerator and so on in there as we go. And so as I zoom this up, okay, and we don't actually want a counter on the left hand or overhanging on that left side, so I'll just set that to 0. I'm just kind of modifying and changing things as I go, as I see them here. But I'm going to come in through draw symbol, and I'll do a search for Sub-Zero. And once we get down into the refrigerators for the Sub-Zero, okay, I'll just click this to get to the library to begin with, and then I can go into the built-ins. And let's just say we're going to click and insert this one in place. And so as I take a look at this inside the 3D, and I will zoom this up, okay, we can see what it looks like, and I'm going to have to move it a little bit and so on. But once I begin to move this over here, okay, so I've got myself my refrigerator, and then I'm going to copy this cabinet just by picking the copy command and place the other filler over here. Okay, so as we take a look at this, we now have the 2 filler cabinets, and the next thing that we're going to want to do is just place an overhead, wall cabinet in here. Taking a look at the refrigerator, I can see the dimension is 7 feet. So that'll help us, with defining the cabinets. Now I'm just going to draw it here inside 3D, and then we can always, manipulate or modify it as we go. So I'll come in here and I'll pick the 36-inch cabinet. I think we want a height of about 15 inches. We know the height's going to be about 102, and so now I'm just going to click, and I'll say no to this, and let's take a look at what we've got. So if I edit this cabinet, okay, we can see it actually took on all of the so as I edit this cabinet, we can see that right now it's basically taken on the the heights and dimensions and so on. The one thing I didn't do was actually give it a depth of 24 inches, which is to pop it all the way out there. Okay, and so that gets us right now what we got for our upper cabinets. And we could always edit this and change the height a little bit on this if we wanted it to come all the way down and so on. And so I'm just going to edit the tall cabinets themselves, and we also want them to have a painted finish, and so just keeping everything in line. Okay, so the next object or item that I want to put in here is actually a double oven beside this. And so what I'm going to do is just come in and modify, that and place that in there. And so inside the main floor plan, as I zoom this up, I'm going to select my draw and select my cabinet, and I'm just going to go to the manufacturer this time. And I'm just going to go to, let's say, Armstrong, and we'll take a look at what they've got for tall and oven. And so as I scroll this down, I'm basically looking for something that is, fairly tall, as I say. So 33 inches in width, 96 inches in height, which I can always, dimension or modify. But I do want to get a double oven in there, so I'll change to the OV33S. And so at this stage, I'll just click to start and click to finish, and you'll see that it drops it in. I can then edit this, and I could change that. I'm going to remove the product code on this at this stage, which would then allow me to change the height, and what it will do is actually stretch the top cabinets. And here I could actually add the crown molding in, to match what we're doing. And then finally, as far as the the finish is concerned, that's where I can go in and change this to be painted as well. The big key here now is going to allow me to go in and add myself a double oven in there to be able to draw with. And so if I come back into the manufacturers and I pick the symbol, and I'm actually going to go to my list of manufacturers and maybe look for something like, let's say, General Electric in the Monogram collection, and they've got a 30-inch double oven that's in there, and so I'll use that one for now just because it's simple. And so I'll just click to start and click to finish. And so at this stage now, if you can see it over here in plan view, if I were to come into the 3D and zoom this up, I think I picked a 33-inch oven, cabinet, so I may need to adjust the width of that in just a minute. And I'm also going to need to pull this out. And so I'm just doing this in 3D right now, just kind of toying around with it a little bit. So just design, not unlike what you do when you're working on your own designs themselves. And so because this is a 30-inch, I'm going to come back into here and just change this width to say 30, and I'll do a cleanup inside the main floor plan to get everything snapped together, hopefully. And so we'll just move that over towards where the and let's take a look at that. And so now we have our refrigerator, we've got our tall cabinet. I do need to add crown molding to that just to match up, and we're in good shape. So the last thing is I'm just going to duplicate these cabinets over here. I think I've got enough room, so I'll just do a quick. If I hit Control D, what it does is it allows me to just quickly measure a dimension. And so I can see up there I've got roughly 1'11", almost 2 feet. Okay, so I will select the draw select and pick this cabinet and click to draw it in there, and then I'll click to draw the wall cabinet, and I can just move that slightly into place to get that set. And so now you can see we've managed to get we're 30 minutes in. We've got this back wall of cabinets here, and we've managed to build the double oven, refrigerator, and other cabinets on this left-hand side. Okay. Now, going forward, the next thing that we might want to do, even before I put the island in, just to make sure we cover everything, is I'm going to put some backsplash tile in and so on. And so inside the main floor plan, you may be familiar with interior mode. Whereas room mode allows you to go in and place rooms on a large scale. So for example, you can come in through room, and I could pick, let's say, dining room, for example, and then I can pick the auto trace and drop it in here. If there's already information in there, it's going to ask me about that, and so in this case here, I'll just say cancel and do not add to some of those things. But in essence, when you edit that room, you'll be able to go in then and modify wall covering, baseboard, chair rail. And the way the room mode works in a nutshell is it basically looks for an enclosed space, and it builds all of that interior trim package. Now, with interior mode, you get to build all of the polygons that are associated with the room, but you get to put them in on an individual basis. So, for example, depending on what it is, when I change into interior mode, across the top I've got a number of items. So I could begin with, for example, wall covering mode. Now, if I come in here and I pick paint number 1, for example, and I do an auto or manual trace even, I can trace where this paint is going to be placed, and as I do that, okay, it's just going to allow me to manually trace that paint anywhere that I want, and I just assign it to the walls themselves. And so I just simply click to start, and as I click and trace, it's going to add that to the individual walls. And so in this case here, you can trace it an entire room as I just did, or you can add it to as a individual wall by wall. And so as I do that, and as I come in and I do a selection, I can see wall covering number 1 has got it, a paint option there for 1. And as I edit that, I can then go in and I can actually select from the paint colors what color I want to paint, from those different paint chips that are there, in order to set this up. And so if I'm going for a more of a blue or a blue-gray, I can actually pick from in this case, Sherwin-Williams paint palette. I can do the same thing for things like flooring. So I could come into flooring, and I'm going to pick hardwood number 1, and I'm just going to do the same manual trace. Okay, and so here I'm just starting in one corner, and at this stage I'm just sketching the large room or openness of the two rooms together. And so here, as I edit this, it will give me the area, the perimeter, etc. But more so, as I go into the 3D, I'll be able to actually surface edit this. And now I could go into flooring and my hardwood, and I can even go into my Soft Plan Plus and select a texture of hardwood that I want to put down. And of course, in this case here, I might copy that to other rooms and so on. But that gets us, our hardwood in there. And so things like baseboard and crown molding can all be done the exact same way. And so if I select the baseboard option, I would be able to also come in and auto trace this. And so if I pick, my option here, and then click inside the room, it's going to go all the way around. And so you'll see I've got my baseboard, and so on. So that could be done for a lot of different options, as far as the plan is concerned. For tackling the tile and such, let's zoom this up for just 1 second here and take a look at this, just in this area right here. So we're going to run tile to here, and then maybe a stainless steel backsplash, and then once again something over there. So as I look at this, inside the plan view, I'll select the draw followed by wall covering. Now that's going to be different than the paint, so we're going to want to pick a different option. So for now I'm going to pick paint or wall covering number 21, and I'm just going to click to start, and I'm going to run it across to the edge of this cabinet, and then I will click to actually stop it. And so and then just simply right click. When you right click, it's going to ask, do you want to add this one over top? And I'm going to say yes. And so I'm going to do the same thing over here, okay, with my tile, and then right click and say yes. And as I come in, I'm going to see that I'm going to have a tile option there. So let me just edit this wall covering number 21, and I'm going to, it's showing full coverage right now, so we're not going to want that. We're going to, give this an offset up of, let's say, 3 feet, so that it's sitting, where the cabinet is. And then we want to give it, a dimensional, let's say another 3 feet for right now. And then I'll go to the comment. I'm going to, click OK on that, and then I'll do the same thing for the wall covering over here and just do a repeat edit. And so as I take a look at this inside the 3D, I'll now see that I've actually got tile on both sides. Now, it's not currently showing any kind of a surface, so let's do a quick surface edit on that tile there. And as I zoom this down, I'll be able to go into my list of manufacturers. I'm going to go into Soft Plan Plus at this stage to take a look at it. And let's take a look at our different tiles that are available. Okay. And from the list of Soft Plan Plus in here, we'll just go into, take a look at some of our possible stone options that we've got. and I can take a look at these various options that are available. And so you can see that as I, take a look, I can pick a small, type of tile that's going to be there. And so that gets us, that option there. And we could do the same thing where we are going to, just simply draw select that wall covering, and then we could manually trace that over, here. Okay. And so that would add that on both sides, as far as the, backsplashes for those there. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is maybe also add like a steel panel in there. And so I could, I could do that using either another wall covering, or it's possible sometimes you may even use a solid option in something like this. And so inside the main floor plan, I'm just going to come in here through draw, and I'm going to select solid, and I'm going to pick the cube option. And the cube option is just going to allow me to come in here and place or sketch in a three-dimensional shape. The problem with this, and I'm just going to tell you, is if you pick this as an option, it does not give you a bill of materials. And so I really want to emphasize that is something that I tend to draw to. But I'm just wanted to show you how cubes can be used as far as representing certain items. And so if I edit this now, I could come in and I can change what the height is going to be, and I can always adjust this after the fact. I can offset this up, and so again, we will just offset this up 36 inches, okay, and the width and so on. And so now I would just move this to the actual wall. Okay, and as I do that, set it up and click to set it down. Okay, I've got that in there. And now if you do a surface edit, you'll see cube. I could come in now and just do a surface copy paste on something like that in order to display that there. And so we've got a stainless steel, and when we put mirror on there and so on, it would actually be representative of that. Okay, so that gets this in, and we're just going to pop in and add an island. And I want to show you also over here how you can use the auto cabinet feature and so on. So if I were to come in through the main floor plan for a second, and a quick way of placing cabinets in is use of the auto cabinet feature. If you come in through auto cabinet, you can select what your upper cabinets are going to be and your lower. You can also select, what they're, in this case, I'm going to predefine them to be painted, okay? And so once I have done this and clicked OK, I can position my cursor where I want the cabinets to start, run my cursor clear across the run, and then right click. And in this case here, as I take a look at this, it places the cabinets in and I get my complete run. Now, these cabinets can be modified and so on. Okay, so in this case here, I might come in and edit, and at very least on these wall cabinets, just change their height to match, what my other cabinets are doing. Okay, so we know that we've got a 36 and a 12, sitting on top of that. So we might modify these to be 48 inches and then modify their offset to be 54, just simply to match. And so in this case here, I'll repeat edit those same changes all the way across. Okay, as far as that is concerned. And also, don't forget, we've actually gone in, and you'll see that there's some, possibly some fillers that have been put in there. One of the other things that I'll use a lot of as I'm taking a look at this is it placed in obviously very large doors. And so if I were to right click on this, I can select the option called split. And what it will do is it will split these cabinets into two doors rather than one door fitting within the box. And so I'm just going across and doing that for all of these. Continuing on with that, I may edit these and actually even change the face of these, whereby I'm going to put a two-door glass grill in there instead. And as I come in and take a look at the wall cabinet, I can add stuff like shelving to this so that we've got shelving showing on there. And then to carry out what we've been doing elsewhere, I'm going to add the crown mold to this. And so now I'll just simply repeat edit these same changes all the way across so that we've got crown molding. running across. And in this case here with the filler that's on the end, I just need to add a crown mold on it as well to finish the gap out, or I may even just come in and erase that one filler right there and just placing a panel on the end of it to actually finish it out. So let me come in here and just block erase this to take that out, and then as I'm looking at this here, I may come in and edit this cabinet. I'm going to once again, as I said, add the crown mold on this just to fill it out, and I may come in on the wall cabinet run here and just add a right panel, to that to finish it out. So that's how you can use the the auto cabinet to get that cabinet run in. All right, we've got about 15-20 minutes left, so I want to go in and add an island here in the middle of the kitchen. And so the first thing that we'll do is we'll come in and we'll add kind of a run of cabinets across here, and we'll maybe mirror them to reflect it. And we could even talk about a raised breakfast bar, which one of you has asked about already. So if I come in through cabinet, and I'm just going to select the base, and I'll pick the 36-inch cabinet right now, and I'm actually just going to stick with the double door for right now. And I'm going to keep it fairly simple at this stage just for time, but I'll draw the first one in, and once I've done that, I can select dimension, and here with my symbol dimension on, I can dimension from one cabinet to the other. And I'm going to edit this and just modify this, and here I could key in, let's say 42 inches, or if I wanted even more room between the cabinets, set that up. And using the move and align to edge, I could zoom this up and click on this edge of the cabinet and then click on this one to make sure that I get them completely aligned. Now using draw select, I could add a couple of other cabinets in there, so I've now got three 36-inch cabinets side by side, and then finally maybe select a 24-inch version of the same cabinets to add for a dishwasher, and then finally this one over right here. And so again, probably in a perfect world this would align with that, and that's just a matter of editing dimensions on it. So if I wanted, I could edit this down and maybe make that 21 inches and then run my cleanup, and that will get them more in line with one another as far as the island's concerned. And so again, using my move align to edge, I'll pick this edge and pick this edge just to get them lined up. Okay, so as I explode this, okay, we can see what we've got here, and I'm going to place a sink in here. Now, I guess arguably we could have had this, perfectly centered with the range and so on, but for what we're going to do today, this will suffice. And so I'm going to edit this sink or this cabinet right here, and on the opening page, you'll see we can add a tap and add a sink. And if I click on the Add Sink option, it pulls me into my listing of libraries. So back to my manufacturers. Again, I like to use these because it's a better representation as I draw towards the 3D model and as I draw towards the bill of materials. And so now I could come down here to Kohler, and I'm just going to click on sinks. And as I scroll this list of sinks that we've got here, I can pick from what's available using their manufacturer and drop it in. I could also add a tap here. Okay, and so as I come in and I edit this and I click on the Add Tap, I'm just going to do a quick search for faucet. Okay, and it's going to scroll and pull them all up for me, whether they're generic or otherwise. And so in this case here, as I click on this and I see the various faucets that are available, okay, so I could pick whatever option I'm going to use and have it placed. The cabinet beside, which is a 24-inch, I could edit this now and I could replace that cabinet. And I'm just going to do a quick search for dishwasher. Okay, so as I scroll down, I can see all of my dishwashers that are available to me, and so I can pick the dishwasher option I'm going to use, and it's going to place it in there. And so as I take a look at this inside the 3D, let's just go back in the house here, take a look. Okay, you can see what this looks like. And again, these will all be modified to be painted or something after the fact. So what I'm going to do is I could come in using the draw select. I could click this cabinet, and then I can just again, add a series of cabinets on the back side, and I will add a 24-inch cabinet. So I'm just picking them from where I know they are and adding kind of it on the reverse side. And so now what we have is we've got our series of cabinets as I pop into the 3D, and it's just building the model here, so a little bit of a delay there. But as I take a look at this, there is our cabinets at this stage, and this one could be modified to be a folder. You remember that's just going to the actual base cabinet itself and changing the face and so on. Right. Next thing that I want to do with this now is come in and maybe modify the finish on this to be in a lot of cases we've got white, and maybe we want to have like a gray pattern on here. And so I'm going to come in and edit this this cabinet run, and I'm actually going to change it to cabinet finish number 14. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. When I do the surface edit and I click on the wood grain texture, I'm going to pick, what and this is just a JPEG I've already scanned in for something I wanted to use. Okay, and so as I do that, I could then just surface copy paste this to the other options on there. Okay, and all I'm doing is basically just getting a gray, wood texture pattern on there. It may not be what you want to use, and if you just want to paint this, then you can simply just come in and literally paint it as far as the model is concerned. So in this case here, I could change it to display color and then do the same thing just in terms of modifying so that we've got a gray pattern instead of the wood pattern. But that's how you can quickly go in and change the different colors and textures, and it's just a matter of editing that and assigning it to have a different finish. So we have paint here and then paint number 14 here. You could do the same thing with the countertops and so on. So in this case here, if I wanted this one on this countertop, we currently have granite, and I could pick it to be marble, for example. And so once I've done that and it assigns the texture, I could then do a surface edit on this, and under the listing of marble textures that are there, I could go to the texture option, scroll this list down here, and then assign a different texture altogether. And so that's just you can see I've got one color here. So obviously I want the same thing there. I'll edit this run of cabinet, also change it to marble, and we now have that. I can edit. One other thing that you can do with countertops and so on is if you wanted to have a waterfall edge, you just simply add the check boxes, and so now I've done it on one side, and I'm obviously going to do it over here, and so we now have the waterfall finish that we want on this. I could edit this, and I could modify it to have an overhang on this countertop, and so technically this is the front side. So if I give this an 8-inch overhang, you can see how that pushes that out, and that would now allow me to go in and place stools and such on here. And so as I come in here through the draw symbol, and I just simply select stools, okay, and I'll scroll the list and I'll just find something that we can use, and so I'll click one, and then I'll just copy these along the list right here so that we've got a series of stools set up on the actual drawing itself. And so as I take a look at this, I now have, there's my stools to go with the rest of my kitchen cabinets and so on. Okay. All right. As we run this towards the finish on here, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit with the lighting and so on. Okay. So currently we're working in the texture mode, and we basically want to be able to go in here and add some shadows and so on to this. So inside the main floor plan, I'm going to come in through the mode for electrical, and as I change into electrical mode, I'm going to come in through electrical symbols and just do a search for can lighting. And I'll find the 6-inch can light, and I'm going to zoom this up at this stage. And I'm going to, usually you would probably dimension a lot of this into place. I think all of us would agree with that. But at this stage right now, for the sake of what I'm doing, I'm just going to copy this here, and so I can say every 6 feet we're going to put one of these in, and we're going to have multiple placements of those. And so now I've got 4 running across here, something like so. And so now I may copy this, and I'll go down 8 feet, and I'm going to have 2 of them there, And so I've got 2, and then I'll do the same thing here, 8 feet, and do 2, and so that gets that. And then finally, I may copy this all the way down 16 feet, down to here or something along that lines, okay? Or even just 8 feet again. I'm just trying to lay something out quickly that because and I'm avoiding putting them over the island because we're going to put some pendant lights there on our drawing, and so I'll just add this in for now, I guess, something like that. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these 2, but if I come back in here and I select to search for pendant, it's going to take me in, and I've got a whole host of manufacturers. Okay, again, this is constantly being updated, so this is really just you search and find what it is that you want to use, and then once you've found that light fixture, so there I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to add maybe 3 of these across here. So I've got 1. And then I'm just going to copy this to the midpoint, give or take, and then I'll add another one there. And as I come in, we can begin to see our light fixtures coming across, something like so. So as I change modes now at this stage, so I'm currently in the texture mode, I'm going to go to options, I'm going to go to mode options. And under lighting, I'm going to turn the custom lighting on. Now you can see at this stage, it gets very, very bright. Okay, so what you're looking at is overall brightness of the model is currently controlled by your ambient light. The headlight is where you're standing. Okay, indirect lighting as it reflects off of different items within the plan. Okay, you've got your shadows on, etc. The biggest thing that I'm probably going to want to do right now is come in through edit item and edit my can lighting and just lower the lighting option on it. Currently they're set to 10, and I'm going to lower this down to 5. And once I've done 1, I can then just come in using the repeat edit box, and I'm going to get all of the lights. Okay, and as I do this from the go back into 3D to recapture, what it looks like, you can see it begins to lower this down. Okay, to something that's a little easier to see, and look at as far as the texture is concerned. Now you're going to modify and do a lot of, just changes and so on, and settings with your textures and so on. So don't be afraid to play around with, setting these up. As you can see, I'm actually changing the dimensions to get rid of that what was a really, really tiled pattern, across the back. And so I've just come in now and increase that, and you can just again, some of this is just beauty eye and the beholder, just what you want to do. With my hardwood down here, I'm going to surface edit something like this, and I may even change the texture altogether. I'm actually going to go down to just taking a look at, I'm in interior finish. I'm going to go to manufacture because there is a lot of different flooring options that you might want to take a look at in here, and you'll find that as you take a look at these under Armstrong, let's say, and I'm just going through and taking a look at my different options of what I like to use and so on. So something maybe so as you select your hardwoods, you may come into the options. This is where you can start playing with the reflectivities, turning that on, your sheen, your finish, etc. And in this case here, if you get to that point, you may come in through your mode options at this point. Anti-aliasing will crisp up the image, but it does come at a cost of time in terms of how much it's going to take to generate it. I can come into the face options, turn the reflections on. Okay, so again, these are all detailed options that are going to add to this. Again, you can play around with it with the lighting, and one of the things I'm going to do here with this is maybe even turn on reflectivity for something like the backsplash that I've got on there. And so once I've done all of that, you can then just regenerate it. And this is going to, with as many options as we've turned on, it's going to take a moment for this to regenerate and calculate bouncing light sources off of surfaces, reflections, and how that's going to be, especially with a large floor area like what we've got there, the counters, the backsplash, etc. So all of that can take just a little bit of time for it to generate. You can see it beginning to go and calculate this now. So you've obviously, and I've turned the reflectivity way up here in the, it's almost like a mirror behind the actual stove itself. But that will give you kind of a feel for what this would actually look like. And then you could tone it up or down depending on what it is that you're trying to convey to the client. As it begins to hit the floor and calculate it down there, and you can see the slowdown in the generation, but obviously quite a bit of reflection in the floor. And so while it offers depth, it's possibly something that you might tone back a little bit for what you've got here. But overall, I think this gives you a pretty good feel for what you can accomplish and what we've been able to do in just a short hour period of time. Everything from just while this is generating, our custom cabinetry with the smaller storage, cabinets up above, to being able to go in and add different, from painting walls to adding backsplashes, etc. The use of custom or soft plan plus symbols. I cannot emphasize that enough because of the level of detail that you're going to get with those, digging in and finding those and making use of them. And don't forget that you actually have the ability to import those into SoftPlan. So as the manufacturers come out with these different symbols, or as you search other three-dimensional symbol warehouses, you can actually import those 3D, whether they be SketchUp or AutoCAD files, into SoftPlan for use. Maybe the only thing I would warn you on something like that is that just sometimes the level of detail that's on those symbols, it can cause a bit of a slowdown if there's too many surfaces. But and that's something that our support staff can help you with. I hope that you've enjoyed the Friday Fundamental today. We've tried to cover a lot in a short period of time, so I know that this came at you pretty fast. This has been recorded, and so we will get this, posted to our Facebook, our social media pages, also onto our YouTube page, so that you can go back and review this. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you at some of our future installments that are coming up, including in 2 weeks, deck design, and then we have a bathroom design. And finally a 3D class that are all. So just check our schedule, which is posted on our webpage. And with that, have a great rest of the day. Thank you.